Tonight, John Tory could continue to be mayor for weeks, saying he intends to stay on through the city budget process.
He's committed to being here, committed to speaking and voting for the budget that he has brought forward.
We have extensive coverage of the latest from City Hall tonight following Tory's decision to step down. Plus,
so we're just letting them know that cuts will be coming if we don't do something about it.
A special Valentine's delivery for a city councillor with a message calling for changes on the TTC. And
I 100% trusted her at the time because she was always over at my house eating dinner with my family.
A Markham woman is speaking out about an alleged mortgage fraud that she says is targeting members of the Chinese community. A high-stakes political drama continues to unfold at Toronto City Hall, all in the wake of John Tory's decision to resign as mayor following an affair with a former staffer. Our municipal affairs reporter, Sean Jeffords, has the latest.
Mayor John Tory's departure may still be weeks away, in spite of his shocking resignation Friday. Budget Chief Gary Crawford says that could be the case as Tory prepares to see his final city budget through to the end.
I just met with him, spoke with him. He will be presiding over this budget on Wednesday. It's an important budget for the city. It's been a challenging budget year. I have advocated to ensure that we get this budget through on Wednesday. He's committed to being here, committed to speaking and voting for the budget that he has brought forward.
Crawford says the $16 billion spending package due to be voted on this week at Council is Tory's. Under the province's strong mayor legislation, he wrote it, and Council needs a two-thirds majority to change it. Crawford says Tory could stay on for weeks beyond this meeting if Council attempts to amend the budget, and then he exercises a veto the powers give him.
He is committed to ensuring that this budget gets passed, and if it means sticking around for a couple more weeks, I'm sure that's something he will be doing.
But that news isn't sitting well with Councillor Alejandra Bravo, who says Tory's resignation gives Council a chance to change the budget. She says it will allow them to be more responsive to the concerns from the public about its direction.
I think there will be a sector of the public that thinks that, the mayor said he's leaving. It's not appropriate for him to be voting on the budget and least of all invoking his veto. But I think that we'll see. We'll deal with whatever comes on Wednesday.
Tory ally Brad Bradford says the mayor would bring stability to the process. He doesn't think revelations of Tory's affair with the staffer change the budget process.
The last thing Torontonians want is us to take a budget that's been under work for many months with thousands of points of engagement and consultation and to try and blow that up to score some political points. It just wouldn't be helpful.
The stage is set for a budget showdown on Wednesday. The mayor and his allies appear poised to push the document through, while his opponents are ready to carve it up. John Tory's long goodbye could be a tumultuous one. Sean Jeffords, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, when John Tory does step aside, someone else will inherit his strong mayor powers. That's something Tory asked for from the province. Now they could end up going to someone who doesn't share his vision. Lorenzo Redekop has that part of the story.
They looked like political buddies. Mayor John Tory and Premier Doug Ford appearing at multiple news conferences together, seeming to share a common vision, with Tory the one who requested the extra powers.
They might be thinking, what have we done? It's really a double-edged sword for the province. And, I'm pretty sure that the Doug Ford government is not particularly happy with what's happened.
Political scientist Martin Horak says while the province has said strong mayor powers are about getting its housing agenda passed and building more homes, they also give Toronto's mayor extra power in other areas, such as appointing heads of commissions.
If push really comes to shove and they're having a big problem with the consequences of this particular round of legislation, they could go and change the law again. Of course, that comes at a political cost.
There are lots of questions about what could happen next. Even Budget Chief Gary Crawford is unsure what it all means. He was asked whether the province should reconsider these powers.
If this had been 2 or 3 years from now, we'd had an opportunity to see how well a strong mayor system worked. Maybe, but we're in new territory right now, and we just don't know. So that's, I think it's a really wait and see answer for what the province may determine.
I could see anything happening. I could see it being repealed, them going, oh, never mind. This didn't work out the way we wanted.
This political scientist says there is a chance this could backfire on the province.
And I think that that's something that they should have considered. It really, the policy shouldn't be in place just in case your friends are in those positions of power. It should be a good policy regardless of who gets elected.
Meanwhile, Horak says he could see what's happening with John Tory influencing what the province does in the future and whether it will expand extra powers to more mayors. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
Once the mayor's office is declared vacant, the city has 60 days to decide when to have a by-election. And today, the speculation ramped up around who might make a run. Several candidates have declared, several have officially opted out, and countless other contenders haven't made up their minds yet. Chris Glover has more.
I am not interested in running.
From rookies to veterans, inside and outside City Hall, it was a will ya won't ya kind of day.
I care deeply about this city. I love this city.
Beach's East York councillor Brad Bradford was endorsed by John Tory for council, but hasn't decided whether he'll run to replace him.
We have had phone calls, we have had text messages, but it would be far too early to say definitively in any respect.
Another Tory ally on council, Anna Bailau, now head of Affordable Housing for Dream Unlimited, says she is seriously considering the job.
48 hours of phone calls and discussions.
Longtime councillor Josh Matlow's fielding calls from the city's progressive wing, but says he hasn't decided.
There's a lot that I want to do for the city. I believe that we can go in a better direction.
The mayor of the city of Toronto is truly one of the hardest jobs in this entire country.
Former councillor Joe Cressy admitted this morning on Metro Morning he once wanted the job, but the senior VP at George Brown College now says definitely not.
I would have loved to have been that person, but I love my son more, and I want to be there for him.
Former councillor Mike Layton, son of the late NDP federal leader Jack Layton, hasn't responded yet. Neither has former councillor and current NDP MPP Kristen Wong-Tam. Willowdale PC MPP Stan Cho confirms he's not running. Liberal MP for the Beaches East York, Nate Erskine-Smith, is out too. And despite nothing official from Toronto's former police chief, an online campaign is already endorsing his candidacy.
I'm convinced that together we can create a Toronto that is affordable.
Progressive urban planner Gil Penalosa came a distant second to John Tory in October's election.
I feel a commitment to the 100,000 Torontonians that voted for me.
More people have already viewed this Twitter video announcing his run again than voted for him in the last election.
I'm running, and I'm running to win.
Fourth place mayoral finisher in 2022, Blake Acton, says he's running again. So too is disability advocate Isabella Gampk. Fifth place finisher in 2022, Sarah Kleiman-Hag, is waiting to assess, but knows it'll be a tough hill.
Even the longer races, the smaller voices get crowded out by the favored names. And so, this will just exaggerate the problem.
In a shorter campaign where there'll be more specific focus on it, you may in fact need less money to be able to run.
Political scientist Peter Grafe says the speed and attention of this race might help lesser known and lesser funded campaigns.
To the extent that this will be well covered in the media, candidates who are able to be well known and to be ensured a certain amount of coverage as a result of that, may be able to surprise in their ability to reach Torontonians.
And Torontonians must already be getting used to big surprises with this office. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
Meteorologist Colette Kennedy joins us now for a first look at the forecast. And Colette, it certainly did not feel like February today.
No, this definitely had the taste of spring, and so did yesterday, and so will tomorrow and the next day, and then things start to change. Okay, that's just a little bit of a preview of what's coming, but these were the daytime highs, including Windsor in double digits at 11 degrees. Chatham-Kent, by the way, was up to 10 degrees, very close to it for Sarnia as well, but lots of mild readings. For Toronto, the record is in between 11 and 12 degrees for this date in history, so okay, it wasn't a record. Tomorrow, though, we are likely to tie it, if not beat it, and elsewhere in the province, I expect over the next couple of days we will see some records falling. A little bit of activity that was along that frontal boundary, although it's kind of weakening out as it passed through, and then it gives us the mostly clear skies for the overnight hours. The sunshine to begin tomorrow and into the afternoon. So a really nice day on tap again for Tuesday, for Valentine's Day, and then it'll be overnight Tuesday that next system will move in. I'll give you details on that coming up. -2 tonight 8 tomorrow, and that would be a tie for Pearson.
Thanks, Colette.
So it's a step in the right direction. We recognize that, and we'll be moving forward from here.
Canada's premiers today accepted a federal proposal to inject $196 billion over 10 years into provincial healthcare systems. The transfer includes $46 billion in new money. But the premiers also say the offer is not a long-term solution for fixing Canada's healthcare crisis. Ottawa will now hold bilateral meetings with individual provinces to finalize funding agreements. A judge has granted bail for another one of the girls accused in the December swarming murder of Ken Lee in Toronto. The judge handing down her decision this evening. The family of the girl embraced her as she cried. The teen will be under the constant supervision of what's called a responsible person. That adult must ensure the teen follows a list of conditions, which includes staying at home and not contacting any of the other teens accused in the murder. 59-year-old Ken Lee died in hospital after he was allegedly beaten and stabbed by a group of girls on December 18th. A total of 8 girls ranging in age from 13 to 16 have been charged in connection with the case. 5 have now been released on bail. 3 were denied bail and will remain in open security custody. Police releasing an image of a suspect wanted in connection with a slashing at a TTC station. The security camera image shows a man waving a knife. The incident happened around 6:30 Sunday evening at Spadina Station. According to investigators, the victim got into a verbal dispute with 2 men and a woman before she was slashed in the face. All 3 suspects then took off. Police say the victim didn't know any of her attackers. A fare hike and service cuts, part of the TTC's 2023 budget, are set to be voted on at Wednesday's council meeting. But some transit users are hoping a big Valentine's Day gesture will change some councillors' minds. Dale Manukduk has the story.
Show Scarborough some love. That's the message hundreds of residents who signed this giant card are hoping for. They're delivering it to Scarborough Centre Councillor Michael Thompson.
We're asking him to stop the cuts that are coming to TTC, to invest in bus lanes and to invest in solutions that will keep Scarborough moving after the RT shuts down.
The Scarborough RT is scheduled to shut down this fall to make way for subway extension construction. The 6-stop rapid transit line opened in 1985 and is heavily relied upon to connect residents to TTC Line 2.
Growing up, I didn't have a car and relied on transit, so there's a lot of community members like me who understand the importance of transit.
Replacing the RT will be shuttle bus service that would run for 7 years if construction is on schedule.
70 shuttle buses per hour during the peak periods to replace the RT. So that means you'll have a longer commute when the RT closes. And on top of that, TTC service cuts are being proposed in this budget and fare increases. So Scarborough residents will be paying more for less service.
Oh, it's going to add another 30 minutes to my commute.
It's going to happen anyway. It's not going to change nothing. It's going to happen anyway.
The oversized card asked Councillor Thompson to vote for more bus service, affordable fares, bus lanes, and a parking levy to fund transit. CBC Toronto reached out to Thompson but did not receive a response.
Hello, we're trying to stop TTC cuts.
The advocacy group is hoping that the message will get through. It previously played a role in getting the TTC to approve a busway when the RT shuts down. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. A Markham woman is speaking out about an alleged mortgage fraud she says is targeting members of the Chinese community. Tina Lee says a mortgage broker befriended her in 2019 and offered to help her get a bank loan. Instead, Lee alleges in a court filing that broker misrepresented documents, took out 2 mortgages on her home, and took off with the money. The broker denies the allegations. Far Morale has more.
Tina Lee talking about the first time she met Peggy Chan, saying she thought she was nice, helpful, and honest. Lee spoke to CBC News for an interview translated by her daughter. She claims she formed a close friendship with Chan over 2 years, a friendship that has since dissolved.
I 100% trusted her at the time because she was always over at my house eating dinner with my family.
In court documents, Lee alleges Chan, a mortgage broker, offered to help her secure a bank loan for her kids' education. Instead, Lee is accusing Chan of defrauding her out of hundreds of thousands of dollars by forging or arranging for the forging of documents to put a second and later third mortgage on Lee's property. She's now received a notice of sale and is facing the possibility of losing her home.
I'm a single mother raising 4 children. It's really hard for me to continue on. I don't have the money to discharge these mortgages. I don't have a couple $100,000 lying around.
CBC News has learned 5 other civil cases have been filed against Chan, all from members of the Chinese community, all alleging mortgage fraud. None of the allegations has been proven in courts.
The common thread seems to be exploit trust, go after a person who's got a house and with equity in it.
Ken McDonald represents 2 other clients who allege mortgages in the amount of $900,000 and $1.15 million were taken out without their knowledge.
The money goes into the joint account, and then very shortly thereafter is transferred out by Peggy Chan, as we see in bank records, to various people.
Through her lawyer, Chan denies the allegations.
These investors knew about these mortgages.
He claims the alleged victims willingly took out the mortgages to take part in a plan to invest and flip properties in the GTA.
The only sort of fraud that exists here is the accusation that these investors did not know or did not understand what they were investing in.
Lee's lawyers called that totally false, telling CBC in part, "There are a number of lawsuits pending by our clients against Peggy, and she has not presented any evidence in support of that allegation in any of those cases." The matters are now before the courts. Lee says she's sharing her story in hopes others don't end up in her position.
I really want the people of the Chinese community to know, because there's a vulnerable group of people being targeted.
Farah Morali, CBC News, Toronto.
For the second straight day, the public paid their respects to Hazel McCallion. The former Mississauga mayor was laid in state at City Hall. A steady stream of mourners came through a day before Hurricane Hazel is laid to rest. Greg Ross reports.
For many, coming to see Hazel McCallion at City Hall one last time was about getting the closure they need.
I cried over there when I said goodbye. I miss her a lot, a lot.
First elected in 1978, McCallion served as Mississauga's mayor for 36 years. But for many in this city, she was much more than just a mayor.
Nobody could point a finger at her for anything. She lived an exemplary life as a mayor as well as a good citizen of Mississauga. She was an example to all of us.
Some admired her for her fiscal responsibility, never allowing the city to go into debt.
She ran the city as a corporate, make sure it is profitable, make sure it follow the rule.
For others, she brought notoriety to Mississauga, often standing shoulder to shoulder with some of the world's biggest celebrities.
She was the celebrity indeed, and so no matter who came, she ended up being the celebrity.
She was somewhat of a pioneer for women in politics.
Women of that generation didn't do that, so she was very special.
McCallion died of pancreatic cancer on January 29th. Her funeral will be tomorrow here at Paramount Fine Food Center in Mississauga. It'll not only be on Valentine's Day, it would have also been her 102nd birthday. The city will be saying goodbye to McCallion the person, but many here say the impact that she's had on the city and its people lives on.
We hope that her legacy will last as long as Mississauga is in existence.
Greg Ross, CBC News, Mississauga.
There's a live look at the Toronto skyline. Partly cloudy tonight and mild. We're sitting at about 2 degrees. We'll check back with Colette after the break for a look at your extended forecast. Stay with us. Colette's back now with our extended forecast, and you mentioned more mild days ahead, but we're also expecting a lot of wind.
Yeah, it's really going to be a theme, Talia, this week. It was breezy today. We experienced that. Tomorrow, not so much, although the winds aren't going to be light. And then Wednesday, and then on Friday, we're looking at really strong winds. So a lot of things happening as a few more systems will be going through. But the temperatures, yes, those are going to be definitely above seasonal, in some cases likely to break some records in the next couple of days. Breezy and wet through midweek, so we get the rain showers moving in with those windy conditions, and then by the end of the week we're looking at some colder temperatures, so even turning over to mixing with some wet flurries. So a lot will be going on, but by the time we get to that colder air, we will have had 5 days, 5 good days, actually probably 6, with the temperature above seasonal when we take into account the weekend as well. So just looking ahead here, mostly clear skies through the overnight. We do get some cloud cover in a few cases, but I don't think you're going to notice that. We'll have sunshine for Tuesday through the GTA. It's only late day that we'll see some cloudiness starting to push into southwestern Ontario, and then a couple of waves coming through. So periods of rain developing overnight Tuesday and then into Wednesday, especially earlier in the day. And we'll deal with that through the afternoon. I do think after that we'll see some clearing, perhaps earlier than that, back towards Sarnia and through the Windsor area, hoping to carve out some clearing later in the day on Wednesday so it's not all wet and cloudy with those very mild temperatures that we'll be seeing. Checking out some of those winds, though, that we'll be contending with. Like I said, tomorrow's not so bad. But as we get into Wednesday, especially Tuesday night into Wednesday, really strong gusts over 70 kilometers an hour. The southerly wind pushes those temperatures up. But then eventually at the end of the week, it changes to a northwesterly wind, and that's what's going to shove them down. Overnight readings tonight, in terms of what we're looking at, I'm thinking that's maybe a little too cool for Windsor, but think -4 to -5. And then 8 degrees for your Valentine's Day, 13 for Wednesday. Transition day with the temperatures anyway on Thursday before that cool air moves in, Talia.
Thanks, Colette. Finally tonight, the Raptors paid a surprise visit to girls competing at a basketball tournament downtown this afternoon.
It's hard to even feel that I'm in a real place right now, especially since I look up to so many of these players. And just knowing that they're here for us, they're here to cheer us all on as women, and they're here to support us and help us become better. I think that that's just incredible for them as people, as humans, as basketball players.
The team was on hand as part of an initiative celebrating women in sports. The Raptors went through a series of basketball drills with the young players and joined them for a workshop. And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Maribel Tarouk has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6, and I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Good night.